So again, welcome back. We're talking about structs. This is class 4. So in the last video, we worked through some structs. We added a method to our struct, so our structs can print out a description of an order. And then you went through and made a description for your coffee. Let's talk about one more feature of structs. So, and this is probably the biggest difference between structs and classes. And we haven't looked at classes yet, but keep this in mind because this is going to be different between classes and structs. You're going to find that classes and structs are very similar, but this is the one area where they're different, and it's a little bit subtle. Okay, a struct is a value type, so that means that if you create a struct instance, an instance of a struct, and then you assign it to another variable, at the moment that you assign it, you're creating a copy of it. And that's not true for classes, right? So if you think about a struct, it's kind of like, every time you assign it, you create a new one, right? So if it's like going to a website and creating a new user account, right? You make a brand new user account, and everybody's user account is different. Okay. Classes, on the other hand, are kind of like an address. So if you if someone gave you an address, right, and you copied that address and you wrote it down, right, and then someone else copied your copy of the address, like they wrote it down, they'd put it down their own piece of paper, but all those addresses would point to the same location, right? So they would represent one house or one place in a city, right? One address, even though you have two copies of the actual address, like written. Okay. Maybe that wasn't a great example there. We're going to do another example of this, but just for right now, a struct is a value type, right? So here's some sample code. We'll try this out in our playground too to test it, right? So you can see here we're making an instance of the boba tea, and then we're going to make another boba. So when we make the other boba, we take the first boba and we assign it with the equal sign. And this is the moment that we're assigning, and it's the moment where we just copied boba and we made a whole new struct right here that was exactly the same as the previous one, but they're two different things. Okay. So copied when assigned. Instances are copied when assigned. This would be the moment that we were doing an assignment, and that's when this would get copied and we'd have another copy of it. So, what does that mean for us? Well, if you printed out boba tea here, you would get black because that's the property. And if you printed out another boba tea, you'd get black again because they're the same, right? But here, if we set boba tea on boba to oolong, then if we printed boba tea here, we'd get oolong, and then another tea would show black. So the property here does not change, right? Let's try that. So I'll go to my playground here, and I'll do the exact same thing they did. I'll just use some different names. So let's do var a equals boba tea, and we'll set the tea type to jasmine, and we'll set the sweet. Actually, let's do black. That's what they did in the example, right? And then we'll do sweetness of 50%, and has boba is true. And then we'll say var b, right? So we got variable a and variable b, and this one I'm not going to do boba tea. I'm just going to do an a. So I'm going to copy it, right? Okay. And if I was to print out the t type here, a dot t, and print b dot t, then we would see that it would say black and black, like it would show the same value. But if I was to say, b, I want to change your t to, let's do, I think matcha is a T, right? So I'm going to choose that. Now, it's going to give me an error here because it's going to say cannot assign to property T, or cannot assign to property colon T is a let constant. What's going on here? Okay, great. If you got that one, you're saying that this needs to be a var instead of a let, because here's our boba struct, and we said that this property is not changeable, it's a constant. Okay, so let's go up here and change this to a var. Okay, and then over here, now we're able to change it. Now if I print out the values, you'll see that the first one shows black, but the second one shows matcha, right? Because the second one I changed its property. So changing the property here on B is only changing the properties in B. Now that seems like maybe obvious, but like later you'll see with classes, since it's a reference type, if I change the property here, they would both change, right? And that's one of the biggest differences, like I said, between classes and structs. So anyway, so thanks for watching, and that wraps up the section on structs. And what we'll do is we'll move into classes next. Okay, so so hold on. I'll stop the video here, and then we'll start another video with this next section. Okay.